You're listening to In Our Headphones.
Your chance to discover the songs KEXP DJs don't want you to miss. I'm Janice Headley.
And I'm Isabel Khalili. And this is your never-ending source for new music discovery from listener-powered KEXP. Hey, it's Isabel Khalili, and this week on In Our Headphones, I'm joined by Diana Ratsamee. Hi, Diana.
Hi, Isabel.
Great to have you here.
It's so great to be here. Thank you for bringing me on the show today.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So this episode is a special one because KEXP just kicked off what we call Pushing Boundaries, and this is our celebration of Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We've been doing this at KEXP for 4 or 5 years now, but this year is especially exciting, I think, because it's the first year where we also have a weekly specialty show that's dedicated to the music of Asia and the diaspora. So that show is called Eastern Echoes, and it's hosted by today's guest, Diana Ratsamee. Diana, can you tell us about the show and what people can expect from the show?
Absolutely. So the show is called Eastern Echoes. We are live every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific time. And in the show, we play music from Asia and the Asian diaspora. I like to focus the show on amplifying Asian artists from throughout the world and playing music from scenes and movements that have been started and have influenced the musical realm that we are currently enjoying today. Mm-hmm. So it really is a journey every week.
It really is. Mm-hmm. It's so fun to listen to. I think I might have texted you when this happened, but like the other day I was listening, I guess it was a couple weeks ago, I was listening in and it was like one of those moments where I pulled up to home, I was driving and I just like stayed in the car for an extra like 5 minutes or 10 minutes because I was like, this show is so good.
It is. It's so much fun for me to be a part of telling these stories and creating these moments for listeners to connect with incredible artists throughout Asia.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Where did your journey in music start?
Oh my gosh, I was kind of born into it. Yeah. Yes. So my father is a musician. I was going to say was, but he still is. He still plays music. My father is a musician. A little bit of background with my family. My family is from Laos, and they came to America as Lao refugees in the late 70s, early 80s. And during my father's time in these refugee camps, that was when he was able to hear a majority of music from around the world. A lot of this, Western influence and music that, was outside of communist propaganda didn't exist in Laos and was not allowed. So when my father escaped to Thailand and spent his time in the refugee camps there, he heard this music and was just consumed with dreams of becoming a musician and playing this rock and roll that he had heard on the radio airwaves. He was more of like a hard rock and metal kind of guy. Nice. But after he made his way to America, they had landed originally I believe in Louisiana, with a family that sponsored them. And from there, he found that there was another family member in Seattle, and took a bus and went, with the very little English that he knew, all the way to Seattle. At the time, Seattle had its rising grunge scene. Yeah. And so my dad, was able to be a part of this musical landscape that shaped Seattle. It was just, astounding to hear when my dad relayed this story to me.
Could we hear some of his music?
He did not record any of his music. So my dad played in a band that also consisted of my uncles. And they played mostly in temples, at weddings, and other Lao community events. There was a sense of home in building and being a part of this Lao community in Seattle. And part of celebrating these communities meant gatherings, meant listening to music, and also meant like listening to our traditional music from home, or even music that was banned in Laos, but was newly discovered in America through this Lao diaspora.
That's amazing. I have a feeling maybe one of your song picks from today is related to that story.
That's right.
Okay.
It is a bit obscure. A lot of music that was made in Laos is lost, especially after 1975 when the communist reign kind of took over. My father tells me that a lot of the music was banned and it was illegal to even play some of this music. And even on my journey now, as I'm curating and searching for music on the show, it is challenging to find music from Laos and the Lao diaspora. But the song that I picked, it's called Lam Seung Bang Phai. It's by a band called Sothy. This song combines a lot of elements of psych. I describe it as like cosmic Lao folk. And, you know, when I first heard this song, I just thought it was the coolest, mind-melting track.
It really is.
Yeah. There are traditional folk instrumentation and lyricism as well as sentiment. But then you hear this synth just kind of come in and these like wild dissonant sort of like harmonies and the track was discovered in 1980 and it's about a young man's journey to the Rocket Festival as he flirts with a young woman that he meets along the way. It's really cute. And there's a call and response element where I'll literally translate some of the lyrics. He'll go, "Hey, baby girl, where are you going? Are you going to the fire festival?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm walking to the fire festival." And he's like, "Well, do you want to come with me? How about you come by? I'll give you some water. I'll give you some food." She's just like totally just playing hard to get as they're making their journey. It's a really sweet and playful song about a very like commonplace event that happens.
Can you talk more about the Rocket Festival?
Yeah, it's essentially like a gathering of folks in Laos to, you know, blow up rockets.
Okay, so it's what it sounds like.
Yes. My Lao people are very handy. And with the very little that there was, they made do with what they had and made a lot of their toys and they made a lot of their fun. And with these rocket festivals, there was gunpowder, there was, you know, material for people to just kind of hand make their own rockets. And it was a lot of fun to just like blow these things up. So the community would gather and play music, sing songs, and watch these rockets blast off into space.
Love
or
that.
space with
That-
air quotes.
Yeah. Well, that really fits with the vibe of this song.
And this is a song that you sway and dance to. There is a dance.
Really?
Yeah, well, traditionally, Lao communities dance with their hands, call it fawn. And so we'll fawn and just kind of like sway side to side and just dance with their hands. There's a very commonplace dance move, and Cambodia shares this dance move as well called the Ramble, where people walk in a circle and dance with their hands and just sway to the beat.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
สวัสดีน้องสาวน้องสิไปใส่เสื้อสีแดงสวัสดีน้องสาวน้องสิไปใส่เสื้อสีแดง
And this song I really love. You know, growing up, I listened to a lot of rock and roll and psych, just, you know, with my father being a musician. And the psychedelic Southeast Asian rock and funk was very commonplace in my upbringing. And so this song just kind of melds all of that. Unfortunately, for a lot of this music, the artists are unverifiable. Many of them are lost. This song itself was just rediscovered by a French production company in the late 80s, I believe.
And it was recorded early 80s?
Yeah. So a lot of this music makes a journey. It's taken, many years, iterations to be able to get to us today. And I think that's a little bit of the story of what it's like to be in the Lao diaspora, just kind of lost, passing through many different ears and eyes until, someone piques an interest and cares to share this story.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think having this show on Eastern Echoes is a powerful statement.
So well said. How does your dad feel about the show?
He's excited. Yeah, he's got a collection. He's been digging for decades now. And when I got the show, I told my dad, and he's like, "Hey, do you want some of my collection?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I've got like 20 years worth of music." And I go, "Oh my God. Yeah, sure." Yeah. It's kind of funny. You don't think to ask your parents about these things. And I found that in this journey to playing this music, discovering this music, I've also been able to kind of put the pieces together with my family story. Yeah, I feel like that has been a lifelong journey for me. I know for a lot of folks in the diaspora, it can be a little challenging communicating with our parents. I know in the past I've asked directly for context to our stories and how my parents went through their journey to coming to America, or what it was like living in Laos during that time. And I oftentimes wouldn't get an answer. Yeah. There was a lot of avoidance and sometimes even shame in sharing these stories. But since connecting with this music, I've been able to have these really deep and meaningful conversations with my parents.
Yeah, It is a great way to do that and to get those conversations going, because I think it's understandable, and I relate to that too, as like my dad is an immigrant from Iran and like also came in the late 70s. And like, I know in talking with him and my grandma, it would always be like I was really reaching for the story and like, what was that like, going through revolution? And it's just kind of like, they didn't always want to talk about it. And I do think making those connections through music, through food is a great way to bring those stories out in a more organic way.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to talking about the newer songs.
I'm super excited for this album that I discovered at the beginning of the year. They're a band called South Acid Mimi, and this track is called The End. South Acid Mimi is an electro-punk group from Kunming, China. And this whole album combines elements of like psychedelic electronic with punk energy and influences from the Yunnan province of southern China. And I love this album. It's just so brain-tinglingly good. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like the first time I heard Bjork as a teenager. And the journey into discovering this album was pretty wild because, the Great Firewall of China makes it very challenging to listen to and even hear of local artists out of China. This has been kind of like my obsessive hunting project that I have been digging in these last few months. That's been trying to discover local music from the scenes out in China. And so with this great firewall, many artists aren't able to post their music on Bandcamp or YouTube. I'm usually unable to connect directly with these artists either. But there are efforts, there are amazing individuals who do the work of like bringing the music out to China. And, for me, I connected with an expat who runs a blog outside of the China firewall, who kind of just brings this music over the border and shares it with me. This one was special because it was a really amazing find, and I felt it just encompassed the just punk energy that is making its way through southern China right now. It's really cool.
Yeah, you can really feel that, but combined with so many other different influences, even like Bjork, like you were saying, a feeling of activating different parts of your brain as you listen. I was definitely like, oh, this is taking me on a journey. There's no wonder there's acid in the name of the band. This is The End by South Acid Mimi.
我们清醒的计划结束了，没有限制的自由结束了。
All right, let's get on to the next song.
Yeah, let's talk about On the Road by Habibi.
On the road again, on the road again, driving north towards the great star of Bethlehem. On the road again, I reckon rain said a preacher to a weatherman.
Habibi is an all-girl rock band out of Brooklyn. And the name of the band, Habibi, translates to My Love in Arabic. And I love this song so much because I have a little bit of an obsession with Middle Eastern psych rock and garage and surf. It, again, was something I discovered on my musical journey because, growing up and listening to Southeast Asian psychedelic rock, it just kind of took me through this journey to exploring rock in other countries, other regions of Asia. And I just thought this was the coolest combination of Middle Eastern musicality meets my favorite parts of psychedelia and garage and surf rock. The lead singer is a woman of Iranian descent. And, what really ties it for me as well are the harmonies of this track. The women on this track are bringing forth in this song.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Raheel, who's that artist that you're talking about, who's of Iranian descent, I got a chance to talk with her last year, actually, about her solo album. And it was such a fun conversation. And we talked about kind of the way that her music with Habibi is very associated with surf rock and how she went down this rabbit hole of learning about how surf rock is tied with the Middle Eastern scales, melodic scales. So Dick Dale, who's the king of surf guitar, quote unquote, was of Lebanese descent. And that was kind of where that connection was. And she's like, no wonder I felt like I could, belly dance to these surf songs.
Oh,
and
that's so good. Yeah. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
This song is also very nostalgic road trip? Of course, like in the title, on the road.
Right? It just takes me to, like a long, dusty road with my girlfriends. Yeah. Not really sure where to go, down to your last bottle of water, just hitting the road with your short shorts and your Ray-Bans.
Yeah. So. Perfect for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's listen to a little bit more of On the Road by Habibi.
I think you really should. On the road again, on the road again, driving north towards the great star of Bethlehem. On the road again, on the road again. I reckon rain said a preacher to a weatherman. You're gonna really hate it.
Let's move on to your final track for the day. This song, well, go ahead and introduce it.
For sure. It is called Rambled in the Rainbow by TamTam. And TamTam are a Tokyo-based 5-piece folk, jazz, and neo-soul band.
魂は飛び去ったいつか抜け出せる時誰のそっとかはさらばいずれまた晴れやかなさんさんと照らす空完璧なカラー
They formed in the mid-2000s after playing primarily reggae, dub, and pop rock. And the evolution of this band has been so incredible. They've made that really curious transition into jazz and soul. And I love this album because it is just such feel-good music.
It really is. This was one of the songs where like I put it on and I immediately felt like I knew it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure if I had heard it before, but I really felt like I don't know if it's because I had heard it on your show or if because it's just one of those songs that's so catchy that you feel like you've always known it.
Yeah. More recently, I've been listening to a lot more jazz and soul. I think this album perfectly encompasses those like jazzy elements while still being a little like pop and rocky, and it's just a lot of fun for me to listen to, and I'll have it playing in the background. I know very recently they actually were featured for KEXP's Midnight in a Perfect World.
Oh, cool.
And that was where I discovered their music as well as their musical tastes.
Such a great series,
Yeah.
Midnight in a Perfect World.
It's
If you don't
so
know about
good.
it, it's a weekly series on KEXP where there's like a guest artist who does just an hour-long DJ mix. Mm-hmm. Always really well curated. But so that was your entry point into this artist?
Yeah, I had found that they curated a set for Midnight in a Perfect World and was hooked. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what the world needs more of.
Yeah.
さらばいずれまた晴れるかなさんさんと照らす空完璧なカラー
What does this song mean to you?
You know, I have been listening to a lot more jazz and ambient music, and coming from like psychedelic and punk and electronic. There's been just, I don't know, maybe it's just getting a little older.
Wanting to calm down, slow down a bit.
And also maybe it's because there's just a lot of stressors out there in the world. I've been kind of working on settling down a little bit and being present and looking around and enjoying my environment. And I found that, sort of so ironic for me to say that like music with less music has been has been a revelation.
I'm in the same place. It's so funny. The way you're describing it like resonates so much for me. And I feel like I keep hearing that from other people.
Yeah.
It's like there's something going around where we need that space and we need that calm
Absolutely.
and silence.
I think
Not complete silence,
no,
but like
yeah,
music
just
with
like-
more space. And
Yeah, music with more space and with an ability to like play to your environment.
Right.
And I feel like this album is like me sitting in my living room with the sun setting and that, transition from day to night where I'm just, vibing out and laying back.
Yeah.
So that's what this album has encompassed for me in this track in particular.
it brings you into your environment. Well, let's all sink into our environments a little bit right now.
Yes.
Let's listen to a little bit more of this song, Ramble in the Rainbow by TamTam.
がいるなら怖くはないと思えたのどんな闇にもさらばいずれまた晴れるかなさんさんと照らす空完璧のカラー
That was Ramble in the Rainbow by TamTam, and I want to remind you that you can always listen to all our features songs in full by following our ever-growing playlist on Spotify called In Our Headphones. You can also find a link to that playlist on kexp.org by going to the podcast page for In Our Headphones. So today I was joined by Diana Ratsamee, host of KEXP's Eastern Echoes, which focuses on music of all eras and styles from Asia and the Asian diaspora. You can listen to that show live every Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. Pacific Time or anytime on the 2-week archive at kexp.org or the KEXP app. And again, this episode is a special one celebrating Pushing Boundaries, which is the programming here at KEXP for Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and it continues throughout the month of May. And before we sign off today, let's get one more song. As always, our final song pick comes from KEXP's music director team, and today we have Chris Sanley. Chris, out of all the new releases you've been listening to in the last week, what song are you most excited to share with our listeners?
Today, I am so excited to share Mei Semones' Tegami.
I won't let you down. I won't let.
This has been my first introduction to this artist. She's Brooklyn-based, sings in both English and Japanese, and just has this super delectable fusion of bossa nova, jazz, and indie pop, and just this super intricate guitar work that can be kind of mathy at times. And I just think that it's a really unique fusion, and it's just a very unique perspective coming from her, and I cannot wait to hear more. This is her first release with Bayonet Records, and I'm sure there's much more to come from Mei Semones.
This is such a romantic sounding song with those sweeping string arrangements, super sweet lyrics. What do you know about the song or the making of the song?
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. This is just such a sweet love song. And when she was talking about writing this song, she was kind of going into her partner who likes to write her letters all of the time, and she's not quite as good at writing back. So instead, she wrote this love song instead, and Tegami translates to letter from Japanese. And I think you really nailed it there with the strings. I feel just those swelling strings are just kind of emulating a heart just bursting. And the lyrics are just super, super sweet. And I think it is a little tongue in cheek where she's hold my hand, you're my biggest fan. While that could be, perceived as narcissistic, I don't think it's that at all. I think it's really just recognizing that your partner is just there being your biggest fan and supporting you, and you're there then just reassuring them that I'm here for you too. I'm not going to let you down. Hold my hand. Let's do this together. And it's just, it's so, so sweet. I adore it.
It's very sweet, and it's a perfect song to end on today. So Thank you, Chris, as always, for bringing us a great new track. And let's listen to some more. See you next time.
Thanks for having me.
あなたの真面目なとこが好き今改めて
That was the song Tegami by Mei Semones, chosen by Chris Sanley, KEXP's music director. And before that, I was talking with Diana Ratsamee, host of Eastern Echoes on KEXP. You can find all the music from this episode on KEXP's In Our Headphones playlist on Spotify, and consider buying the music you love directly from the artists on Bandcamp or wherever you find their music. And if you enjoy this podcast, let us know. Rate and review it if that's an option where you're listening. Subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with a friend. We'd also love to hear from you if you have feedback. This is a new podcast, and we're hoping to grow and evolve it, so hearing from you is important in doing that. You can write to us directly at headphones@kexp.org. KEXP is an independent nonprofit radio station, so this podcast, along with all of our programming, is made possible by the generous support of our listeners. If you'd like to support our programming in this way, you can make a donation of $6 a month at kexp.org/headphones. In Our Headphones is hosted and produced by Janice Headley and myself, Isabel Khalili. Audio was mixed by Emily Fox, and our director of editorial is Larry Mizell Jr. Our theme song is How Ma by the band Chinese American Bear. Tune in next week where I'll be talking with the hosts of Sonic Reducer, KEXP's punk show. Should be a fun one. I'm Isabel Khalili. See you next time on In Our Headphones from listener-powered KEXP, where the music matters.